You are listening to the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast with Jermaine Foley. If you're a woman who makes good money in your career or business, but you're not building wealth like you want to, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, you'll learn how to stop overspending, break free from the cycle of debt, save lots of cash, and become the wealthy woman you were born to be. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Okay, so today we're going to talk about something that I see come up with my clients often, especially when they start making real progress with their money. A lot of times when women first come to me, they haven't been able to save much. They've been making good money, but money hasn't been able to stay. They haven't learned the skill of having money, keeping money in their lives. So when we start working together, guess what? They start learning the skill of having money. They start building their savings. They see it grow. They feel proud. They feel encouraged. And they start really having positive thoughts like, okay, I'm finally doing this. I'm finally getting ahead. And I'm finally keeping more money in my life. And as you can imagine, those thoughts feel really, really good. But then inevitably, something happens. Life happens. Something legitimate, like the car needs to be repaired, the tires need to be replaced, something comes up with the house. Maybe you need a new water heater, or the kids just need something. So we're not talking about anything frivolous or impulsive. We're talking about legitimate expenses that come up. So again, this is not them buying something random because they're bored. Literally, we're talking about real life expenses that show up and they really need to use some of the money that they saved. And suddenly, right, because of this new expense, this unexpected or irregular expense, the number in the account starts to go down. And what I notice a lot of times that when this happens, they feel really, really frustrated or discouraged because in their mind, the savings account was finally growing and the number is now starting to go in the opposite direction, is starting to go down. And so instead of those positive thoughts they were having earlier, like, oh, I'm finally making progress, when this happens, when an unexpected expense or something comes up, they start to think, see, I can never get ahead. This always happens. Every time I start making progress, something comes up. I knew that this wouldn't last. What's the point? And once those thoughts start rolling in, it changes everything. The whole mood changes because now it's not just about a hot water tank or a car repair. It's a whole story. It's so-called proof that something always happens, right? It's not just an expense anymore. It becomes evidence that no matter how hard they try, they always end up back in the same place. And that is what I want to talk about today. Because if you ever felt like that, right? You make progress and then something happens, you have to take care of a legitimate expense and your savings account or the money you put aside starts to dwindle. I want you to know that there's a better way to think about this and there's a better way to handle it, okay? Because using your savings doesn't mean that you failed. Believe me when I say that. It doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that your money did exactly what it was supposed to do, protect you, okay? And so I want to be very clear. If you see yourself in what I'm saying, it does not mean that you're doing anything wrong, and it doesn't mean that your saving strategy isn't working. As I just said, sometimes it's just evidence that your money did exactly what it was supposed to do. It prevented a financial blow that life threw at you. Like you can just really look at it like that. And throughout this episode, I'm going to give you some more things to think about. But I see this so often that I really want to take an entire episode to address it. So here's what happens. There's an expense. And then there's what you make that expense mean. Your water heater dies and you have to buy a new one. That is a neutral thing that happens every single day to people all over the world, right? Your water heater dies and you have to buy a new one, period. That's the fact. But the thoughts that you might have about that could be something like these. Something always happens. I never get ahead. I'm right back where I started. Those thoughts create a feeling. And the feeling might be frustration, discouragement, right? And so you just start feeling tired. And when you feel frustrated or exasperated, most of the times you're not going to take clean, thoughtful, strategic action. Instead, you're going to want to feel relief. You may stop looking at your numbers. You may stop saving because you think, what's the point? You may shop to feel better. You may use the credit card because you already feel defeated. You may just emotionally quit. And that is how one expense can turn into a much bigger problem, right? Because the problem is not just that the expense happened, right? Because a life will always happen. That's why I like to call it a life happens fund, so that you don't have a problem using that money when life actually happens. But the problem is that your brain made it mean something much more catastrophic, right? It made it mean that you're failing, that you can never get ahead, or that something always comes up. And when you believe thoughts like those, you stop acting like someone who can handle whatever life throws at her. So this is where I want to offer you a different way to think about it. We save money now so that we can spend it later. I want you to let that sink in. This is the reframe. We save money now so that we can spend it later. With that, I want you to think about the ant. The ant stores food in the summer so that it has food in the winter. It does not store food in the summer. Then when winter comes, look at the food pile going down and say, oh my gosh, I'm failing because my food pile is going down. No, that was the whole point. The ant stored the food so that it could use it when it needed it. The ant stored the food so that it could eat it when it needed it, right? Saving works the same way. You save money consistently so that when life has a winter moment, you have something to pull from. So if your car needs tires and you have money sitting there, that does not automatically mean that you're going backwards. It just means that your money protected you. It means that your savings, again, did exactly what it was supposed to do. Okay? So now let me be really, really clear before I go on, because I just said something that could sound a little risky, right? That you save so that you can spend it later. But that is not permission to spend your savings impulsively, okay? It is not there for you to go and indulge in retail therapy because you had a bad day. That's not what I mean. Savings is not there to fund impulse spending. Savings is there to put a cushion between you and life, because life will happen. I promise you, it's going to happen. Cars are going to need new tires. Appliances will break. Kids will need things. Those kids always need something. And medical bills will show up, right? You will have annual bills due. And sometimes the problem is we don't have the structure in place for these things. We know that these things are going to happen, but our savings isn't set up like this. This is something I work with my clients on. We don't just have one big pile of money that we pull from for everything. We set up systems and structures so that you don't feel like you're going backwards when life happens. Because I don't want to turn this into a savings workshop, but that is the other layer there. Sometimes what we call something coming up is really just an irregular expense that needs a place in your saving system. Because again, you won't need new tires every month, but you will need them. You are not going to need to repair your car every month, but you know that you're going to have to repair your car one day, right? You know that something's going to happen. School expenses may not come up every month, but we know that they always come up. These are what I call irregular expenses. They are not unexpected. They're just irregular. And if you do not have a system in place to handle irregular expenses, then that could be one of the reasons why you just feel like everything is a big blow. Because if you had a system in place to handle these irregular expenses on top of an emergency fund, then I think you will be feeling a lot differently about these things. Because here's the thing, if every time your savings go down, you make it mean you failed, you're going to keep emotionally quitting. And that gets expensive, right? I always say that if you have an overspending problem, if you're not saving consistently, if you're stuck in the cycle of credit card debt, if you're not investing to the level that will make you work optional one day so you're under investing. Those are expensive problems. Those are some expensive problems, okay? And that's what I do. I help my clients solve these types of expensive problems. Because instead of saying, okay, money did its job, now I replenish it, you say, see, I knew I couldn't get ahead. And from there, the whole pattern starts again. You stop saving, you avoid the plan, you go back to credit cards, you indulge in spending to feel better, you wait until you feel motivated again. And now the real cost isn't just the cost of the tires or the heater or the water heater. The real cost is the weeks or months you spent out of the process because you made just one withdrawal. You made that one withdrawal mean that you were back at square one and you felt frustrated, discouraged, or exasperated from that, right? And this is what keeps people stuck, not the expense, the meaning that you attach to the expense. So here's the shift I want you to make from this episode. When something comes up and you use savings, do not automatically make that mean I'm back at square one or I'm back where I started. Instead, ask, what did this money just protect me from? Did it protect me from putting this on a credit card? Did it protect me from feeling panic? Did it protect me from needing to borrow money? Did it protect me from falling behind on another bill? Because that right there, those questions, they will change the story. The old thought is this: every time I save, something comes up. I never can get ahead. Something always happens. The new thought is, this is why I save, so that when something happens, I don't have to go backwards. That's a completely different energy. And from that energy, your next step is so much clearer. You do not quit. You do not spiral. You do not shame yourself. You simply say, the money did its job. Now my job is to replenish it. That's it. Life happens. Your savings protect you and you replenish. Doesn't that just sound so much more empowering, right? Instead of beating yourself up because you had to use your savings for something that needed to be taken care of, instead of beating yourself up and feeling discouraged and frustrated and exasperated, you just decide that, hey, this is what the money is for. I save so that I can spend later. I save so that I have a cushion between me and life. Life happens, my savings protect me, and I replenish and I keep it moving, drama-free. And this is the kind of work I do with my clients inside of private money coaching. Because on your own, when this happens, it's easy to make it feel like evidence that you can't get ahead, evidence that money doesn't stay, evidence that you are always starting from scratch, and evidence that something's just wrong with you. But inside money coaching, we slow it down and we turn it into information. We turn it into data, not drama. We look at what actually happened, what you made it mean, how that meaning made you feel, and what to do next, right? We also look at whether it was a true emergency or an irregular expense that needs a better system, how to replenish without drama, and how to stay committed even when life interrupts your beautiful plan, right? Because life will do that. Because remember, the goal is not for life to stop happening. Life is always going to life. Okay, there's nothing that I can do, you can do. There's no plan, there's no money system that is going to prevent life from happening. But there is a system, there is a plan, there is a way to be prepared for life when it happens. Okay, the goal is for you to become the woman who can handle life without going back into the same financial places over and over again, without having to start from scratch over and over again, without having to quit and then spiral and then finally get motivated again and get back on track. Like, we're just done with those cycles. And that is the work we do inside of one-to-one private money coaching. So if this episode resonated with you and you feel like every single time you start getting ahead, something happens, this is exactly the kind of pattern we work to interrupt inside of private money coaching. It's just me and you, and we work on your money privately. You can book your session by going to the link in the show notes or by going to jermainefoley.com/consult. That's Jermaine with a G, Foley.com/consult. And listen, I know that some of you may feel a little embarrassed about booking that call, especially if you're in your late 30s, in your 40s or 50s, and you've been making six figures for years. You may have this story that you should have it figured out by now, right? You may feel like you should have more to show for your income, or that you're just not organized, or you don't know where to start. And here's what I want you to know. You get to come to this call as you are. You do not need to know your numbers. There is no pressure on this call. There will be no judgment. And I say this all the time. I have made every single money mistake that you can make. So I've been there and done that. There's nothing you can bring to the call that will make me shame you or judge you or think of you differently. I promise, because I've done all the things. And I want you to know too, no matter what your finances have looked like in the past, the future is your property. You get to decide what your future is going to look like. You do not have to keep dragging the past into the future. And that is what coaching is all about, right? We look at where you are, where you want to be, and how private, customized money coaching can help you stop starting over and start turning your amazing income into breathing room, into peace of mind, into savings, debt freedom, investments, and true financial security. That's the shift. That's the work, right? And that is how you stop ending up back where you started over and over again. All right, I will see you all next week. Bye-bye. Hey, if money is the one area of life you just can't seem to figure out, even though you make good money, you're not alone. That's why you're invited to book a complimentary one-to-one money consultation with me so that we can figure out how to solve your biggest money challenges. To sign up, simply go to jermainefoley.com/consult or check out the show notes. Hope to meet you soon.